Good evening, friends. As you know, nowadays there is so much talk about agrarian crisis and so on, and some 67% of our farmers are small farmers, and they hardly get any formal credit. Only 15% people get any formal credit. Rest of them, rest of them have to depend on the informal sources. So that makes their life even worse. And they also suffer from the phenomenon of double squeeze. Production is less, and also prices they get also is much less, because they have very small amount to sell, and they sell it in the village itself, and after that they don't know what to do. Okay, so there is whatever you see, the people dying, committing suicide, these are all only those small farmers, less than 2 hectares, and as marginal farmers, less than 1 hectare. These are bulk of them, 67% of them, and they are the ones which are creating, which makes a big headlines, Large farmers are getting rich, They are doing well, there is no problem, and they become ministers, they become everything, they're growing. All cooperative institutions are owned by them, are held by them. It has only the small farmers, which are in this kind of trouble. And also, once you have 1 hectare or 2 hectares, the family income, whatever little profit you get, is not sufficient to feed the family. So therefore, and the informal credit sources which they borrow, they go on getting into further in debt. So that is the kind of problem. But today we have a very distinguished speaker, and Dr. Garde, to talk to us about agriculture as an enterprise. Okay, we keep talking about how do you make enterprise. I've done a lot of work, but he has a fresh thinking on how to convert agriculture into an enterprise. And little bit about Dr. Garde. I think some of you who are from this institution, he has been director of this ATIRA for 40 years, and after retiring in 97, he has been doing all kinds of consulting, training, work in the textiles and related sectors, weaving, spinning, and so on. And then also he's enjoying his life by doing all kinds of ethics and business ethics, and participating in religious institutions and so on and so forth. But he has given some thought on agriculture, not coming from his background, but as a good citizen. So we would like to hear from him. And he is also the fellow of the Textile Association, Research Association. He is also fellow, the life member of Ahmedabad Management Association, and so many other associations in long career. So all that his background is very illustrious. But today I think we are going to hear from him. How do we make agriculture as an enterprise? Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Srivastava. Dr. UK Srivastava has been the chairman of the agricultural side in IIM Ahmedabad. Is it okay? IIM Ahmedabad. And he knows a lot about agriculture. So he knows a lot, and I know nothing. It's literally true, because all of you know that I have not been in agriculture. By the way, how many of you have been in agriculture somewhere or the other? Oh, good. At least some of you know something about agriculture. I didn't. So how did I happen to be talking about this and giving a talk and aim about enterprise farmers becoming entrepreneurs or that? The background is very simple. We the retired people, we the people is different thing, but we the retired people go to some park in the evening and keep chit-chatting about something or the other, and all kinds of remarks are made. So when we were in Kamala Nehru Park in Pune 2 years back, there was a lot of discussion among the group. All of us similar age, 70 minimum, 85 maximum kind of thing, you know. So we were talking about things, and I got to get information on all kinds of things. I mean, the farmers are lazy, they don't do enough, that's why they are not getting the right amount of, let us say, profit or whatever it is. Their yield is low, they don't know how to use scientific management to be able to do a good job. They must be borrowing for some reason and then spending it on, let us say, their daughter's marriage, and then get into trouble. That's why there are more, all kinds of, I mean, anything that we normally speak about without necessarily having a background, but having some impression about something or the other. This used to get us on our nerves, and one of my friends there, colleagues, in this informal chit-chat group, is one Shashikant Wagh. Now this gentleman is an engineer, and he has been working as a head of the department in an engineering firm for long years, and then he has retired, and they have managed as the Wagh family, 3-4 different cousins, to manage to get back their land, which was taken away once under the Maharashtra government schemes, and they are now farming. So they have a 40-acre farmland which they are doing farming there. So he said, look, all these people are talking about everything, but I know it's really expensive to be able to do so many things that are needed for managing the crop, and it is not that simple. So I said, can you give me the data? He didn't know what we are up to. I said, can you give me the data? I said, what data? Now, supposing there is a small farm of 1 acre, then per acre, what will be the cost? Cost of, let us say, weeding, doing this, that, everything. He said, yes, everything is on my fingertips. I said, that's very good. So we sat together, he gave me the data, and then we worked out a simple procedure to see if a 1 acre, if you have some problem of, I mean, if you have 1 acre of land, and this is the expenditure, this is the income, then what is the amount per month that you will get? It turned out to be pretty small, but it was good, not bad. So if you have a 2-acre land, by the way, do you know that 85% of the farmers in India have less than 2 hectares of land. 1.4 hectare, about 3 acres, is about 15%, but just 1 acre is about 67%. 18 and 67 are the numbers. 85% are that small. So I being a management man, so-called, even in management I have no qualifications, but because I was somewhere managing a business called ATIRA, I thought we should look at what is the minimum size that is viable in farming. That was the thing that was bothering us. What is the minimum farm size that will be appropriate for good income? Because you see, whenever you look at any enterprise, any kind of if you want to start a textile mill, you don't start with 10,000 spindles, which is a very small number. It just can't make profit. Unless minimum 25,000 spindles come, the spinning mill wouldn't run. If you can go to 50,000, it is good. 1.5 lakhs is not necessarily much better than 50,000. All this logic we had, size, and because the fixed cost, etc., etc., you know all about that. So we said, let us do it for farming. So we did it for 1 acre farming, and the logic was to see at least what is the minimum size at which this farming becomes viable. Now, how do you go about taking a farm? What farm should I take as a representative farm? The question was very simple. Those who have 1 acre land in an irrigated area, or where there is lots of rain, they can do so many different things, including vegetables, fruits, and flowers, that they are doing well. In fact, how many of you attended that interesting talk by Sandra Soff here a few days back? She was to talk about one subject, about the CSR activities of their group, but instead she talked about agriculture. And the picture of agriculture is excellent. If you look at, we are first in milk production, we are second in vegetable, whatever, you look at it like that, fruit production. We export a lot. 10% of our exports are agricultural goods. So where is the problem? We are doing very well in agriculture, and we also see on the other side on an average, in the last 15 years, there have been 15,000 suicides of farmers every year. This is a great paradox. We think we are doing very well in agriculture, and we also see people committing suicide. So, if you take this page that you have in your hand, you will see there, the main cause of this great paradox is simple: small farmland, poor productivity, low income even at normal prices. Even normal prices are not available. MSP, you know what is happening. Minimum price, it doesn't get done. Not enough income in years of good rainfall, poor rainfall. No saving even with a very low lifestyle for survival. No investment potential possible for increasing productivity without loans, and no capacity to repay such loans. Productivity continues to remain poor. This is a vicious circle. The question is, this vicious circle becomes really vicious when you look at a land which is not a very fertile land, medium quality land, which is in a rain fed area. Because if you are going to the irrigated areas, there is no real problem. One can do so many different things. So we took an example as a typical example of going to a rain fed 1 acre farm, and which is producing the normal sort of grains, wheat, bajra and things like that. Not something niche market kind of thing or something which will be done that way. And when we did the exercise, and thanks to Shashikant Wagh, he gave me a lot of information, we could put it together, and then we found that a family of 4 or 5 which normally survives on 2 acre land, they just don't get enough money, because even if on good, you can see all the details here later on, in good rain times, they get just about enough to survive, let me put it that way, about 10,000 rupees per month. Now if this one person, or rather goes to the nearest city and start working as a simple labor in the household, he will get more than 10,000 rupees today. But that's the kind of money he will get after a lot of effort at his farm, if the rainfall is okay. The year when the rainfall goes down, less or not at all or very little, then it becomes horrible, because his fixed expenses have to be spent. The other things he doesn't. All that details are here. And when you do that, you find that on an average over a 4 or 5 year cycle, it's poor. It's impossible to get out of this. So what is the idea? So we said, let us look at the minimum farm size that will make things viable. But what do we mean by viable? See, we have a lot of information. And incidentally, the farmers are extremely wise persons. We think that they are uneducated, not knowledgeable. It's not really true. They are pretty good. I mean, let me quote an incident. We were doing a lot of work in ginning, cotton ginning, which was not ATIRA's area until 1990. But 91, we entered ginning. So I came in contact with Roo Utpadak Sangh, Gujarat, as well as cooperative ginning factories. They were all cotton growers who were coming together to do different things. And the kind of thinking that they were doing was so good. Frankly, when we went to them with an idea that such and such a machine will help you to reduce your cost, and they were not getting labor, they said, fine, we'll do it. So without going to the government for sanction of a project, because sanction of a project takes about 9 months, within 9 months, we had already produced with them, and again, simple, let us say, mistris who were running small factories, different kinds of machinery. They were willing to invest on that. They were willing to go ahead with us. And then everything was done in such a way that within about 5 years' time, I can say today that about 300 to 400 ginning factories had ATIRA started equipment which came about only because of the small people, the farmers and the mechanics. No design engineer, no nothing. So basically, I was very happy that farmers have the right kind of wisdom, because I had no contact with them before. And one day I was sitting at the Ahmedabad airport, I was facing this side, and I suddenly realized that Varghese is here at the back. And he has been doing a lot with the milk and milk production, and he knew. So I said, sir, we don't know each other, but I am from ATIRA and we are working with the ginning area and the farmers contact, and I must say that the Gujarat farmers are really good. I have been saying that all along was his response, and Varghese response. So which is true. So basically, let us not underestimate the capabilities of farmers, as their wisdom for what they are doing, their knowledge about what they are doing is also not poor. But this is the problem, that too small, about, as I said, 70% is rain-fed, 85% is less than 2 acres. So if you multiply that, about 56% of the farmers are in this position, and most of them are growing simple grains. So we took that as an example, proceeded, and gradually increased the acreage. Because if you want to do a good job, you have to firstly have to have water, availability throughout. That should be used sparingly, so that you should have drip irrigation. You should have the right kind of a seed purchasing capacity, and otherwise pesticides, whatever you need. All the management inputs, if you put in good farming, it is cost, and that requires money. So we also looked at, supposing this is the cost for this, doing minimum this much, then how does the payback work out? And you will find a table here which says that if you have got 1 acre or 2, payback never comes. But if you go to about something like, you can see 10 acres, the payback is, simple payback years, means just divide the one by the other, is about 8 years. And if you go to 20, it is 5 years. Now when you say simple payback, it means this is your income, spareable income, not you have to live with the other part of the income, spareable income. If you use that for paying back the loans, just like that, consider there is no, let us say, interest to be paid back and all that, otherwise it becomes a more complicated example. So, I mean, calculation, just simple payback is 5 years. When it is simple as 5 years, actually it will be something like 7, 8 years, because you have to take interest into account. So when we did this, we came up with a number of 20 acres. Now, luckily, it's, I mean, I would say luckily only because I didn't know anything about what is happening. Luckily, one good well with water sufficient even during the summer years will be able to, with drip irrigation, feed at the most 20 acres. If you want to go for 25 acres, you will require another well. In other words, it has to be 40 acres and 2 wells kind of a thing, you know. So basically, this becomes a viable structure of 20 acres minimum, which simply means that if you have got 2-acre farms in a village, 10 such people will have, I mean, 5 such people, 10 such people will have to come together to make 20 acres. If there are 1-acre wallas, they will have to be 20 together. Now, this looks good. So I said, okay, fine, this is nice. We have come to a very interesting conclusion, which says that viability as an enterprise, farming as an enterprise, minimum 20 acres are needed. But that means somebody should come together in groups. Will they do it? Can they do it? Has it been happening? We didn't know. At least when we did this exercise, I did not know. Then I discovered that it has not only been done right here in Maharashtra where we are, we were in Pune, in the areas of Jalgaon and others neighborhood, one Dr. Kapse had done this about 10 years back. He has started group farming because this is an area which is rain-fed, not sufficient rains, not sufficient water availability, and group farming has been started by him, and it has now progressed. There are at least 20-30 groups, and many of them meet once in a month. All this information was available once in a month to look at experience exchange scheme, and the result is also available. Within about 3 years' time, they have been able to increase their average productivity 2.5 to 4 times. 2.5 to 4 times, which is fantastic. Because for the normal productivity level, when you go for improved productivity, I have assumed only twice there will be your income, not more than that, because it is too optimistic otherwise. But they have gone from 2.5 to 4. Not all of them are simple grain. There are different kinds of things that they have done. But that was very good, interesting. In other words, what I discovered, that it was no discovery, it was already being done. But it is good to see that you can demonstrate it by numbers, that otherwise it is not feasible. Now, this is not what is being said. I have been keeping track of, sir, all the kinds of newspaper articles that come. And I have here a number of them, especially after this work was done in Pune about 2 years back. I kept track of various articles which come in different contexts, in different ways, by experts. And none of them talks about this. None of them says that 1 acre, 2 acres is non-viable, therefore we must be grouped. Not one of them, except one which referred to recently some experiment being done in Vietnam on group farming, SLF or whatever it is called. So they tried to do something here, and their farm size was 57 acres. They contacted 90 farmers, 54 agreed, 57 acres or so were taken, and they did something to demonstrate that it functions. Again, to get 54 farmers to agree to do working is going to be a tough job. 10 maybe. Okay. So the question came up, when we did this work, neither Mr. Wagh, Shashikant Wagh, who was the farmer engineer who helped me to do this, nor me, who is a textile man doing research in textiles, were sure of our numbers and our thinking. So the best way to find out whether you are doing a sensible job, I thought, was to send our paper, what you can call, to a very unique agricultural daily in Maharashtra called Agro One. Agro One, I think, is the only daily devoted only to agriculture in any language that I know of. But if I am wrong, please correct me, because he is knowledgeable, and we are at two extremes, frankly. So basically, we thought, let us send it to them. So we wrote a big paper, Marathi of course, and sent it to them. Nothing happened for some time. Then I rang up and said, "Kya ho raha hai?" Bole, what you have written is that farm sizes are going down from 1961 to 2011. Our readers know all about this. And we don't have so much space that you can put the whole paper there. Abbreviate it. Just talk about the important things and give it to us. I said, all right, we'll do that. We abbreviated and put everything. And they came out with a very interesting, in their special issue, in their Sunday special article, with a caption, "Stop farmer suicides, go for group farming." Now, this is a newspaper. We never would have dared to put that kind of a caption, but they did a good job. And it brought a lot of responses also from the readership. And we realized that our numbers are not too off the mark. Because see, whatever you assume, by way of expenditure, cost, and by way of prices, by way of everything is challengeable. But the conclusion is not. Conclusion is that it is not viable. That is not challengeable. Because some little differences will happen, different pieces, different people, different situations, different, let us say, grains that are being produced and all that. Everything can change slightly here and there, but the main conclusion won't change. So when they published it, I got a little bolder and sent it to Agriculture Today. This is another monthly published from Delhi. And I said, okay, let me see how they react. Nothing, no reaction, not even acknowledgement. Then one day when I am in somewhere in Calgary, Canada, because where we go for about a year every now and then because our son is there, I get a news that your article has been published. I said, what? Which article? Where? Then it came out that it was in Agriculture Today that they have published the whole article. And of course then sent in this to our address here in Ahmedabad. In other words, they also found it is worthwhile. So this gave me a little more confidence, and I said, let me give a talk in Ahmedabad Management Association on this. No, 1 second. So the question is, so what? This was what? This was our a curiosity expedition. Because we were curious, there were too many different kinds of voices being heard, and we had come up with something meaningful, this much we knew. So the one thing which I really want to recommend is that the government policies should change. The government policies need to change. Rather than giving loan waivers, even waive any number of loans, you give 6,000 rupees every year. What can you do? You're not changing the basic situation. So if a simple policy is made that if you group together as minimum 20 acres, we'll give up to 10 lakhs loan without any interest, which will be a big boon to the farmer, but loan. The moment you give subsidy, everything is gone. Because then nobody is bothered about having to repay it back. It has to be given as a loan, because enterprise should not be run, any enterprise should not be run on subsidy of any kind. That's the whole logic with which we proceeded. So one thing is, the NGOs which are working, the CSR of, for example, Ahmedabad Management Association, do you know, has taken 7 villages under the CSR scheme, where different companies will do different things. I went through their own report. Nobody talks about size of the farming, and nobody talks about group farming. So I am trying to go and get involved in this kind of a CSR activity from AMA to see that at least somebody pushes the group farming. The NGOs, the individuals who want to work, should all help farmers to come together. And if they want to know more, take a trip to Jagaon and meet Dr. Kapse. He will tell you all about how to do it. I am not the right person, because I don't know what I am talking about. So, in terms of agricultural practices. So this is one. The secondly, we can say, if a law should be passed that no single agricultural land should be less than 1 hectare, that is 2.5 acres, can be done. It should be done. Because what is happening is, I own some land, then I have 4 children. And I don't know what happens with the girl children today. Because formerly, if I had 2 sons and 2 daughters, my farm will go to 2 sons, and the daughters will be left hanging. Today, the daughters have to be given equal share. So what do the people do? I don't know.
Get a share.
If they will have to buy it out, give a share, give the money to the girl, and keep the land. Now, if that can be done, make it 2.5 acres minimum. That kind of a thing can be done. It has to be pressed. I don't know who will press it and who will pressurize it. But I haven't seen this happening in any one of the articles that I have seen in general. So this is the sort of a concluding remark about it. And we really hope that something important comes out of it, irrespective of who pushes it where. So let me conclude by saying that a small little spark, oh no, one important point I forgot. This is about the, let us say, this is about the suicide rate of farmers. Everybody is worried about farmer suicides. So I did some arithmetic, and you can do it yourself. You can repeat it and cross-check whether I am right. There is data available, there are data available about the normal rate of suicides amongst general population, right? So general population has, let us say, a suicide rate of 35 per lakhs or whatever it is, of that order. Now, if you look at the farming population, which is, let us say, farm owners are about 50%, because the other is labor on the farming, 60% is there. But a rough estimate, we don't have to be accurate. Half of them are male, roughly. So if you look at 25% of the population, adult population, not the entire population, and look at the rate at which these suicides are taking place, they are roughly 1/3 of the normal general rate. The farmer is much more sahanashil, as we call it. He can take a lot of adversity. He doesn't lose his patience so easily. Well, that is the way they have been groomed over the years. So do not think that the farmers are giving away their life for nothing, hurriedly without thinking about it. No, no, no. The farmer's rate of suicide is much less than the normal rate of suicide, where even 13, 15-year-olds are committing suicide, like that. So if you look at it that way, it's not as bad as it sounds, but at the same time, these will not stop unless the farmers really get what they need to get, namely a minimum sustainable income every month, which will come only through group farming. Thank you. Any number of questions and answers? Yes. All questions on agriculture to UK Srivastava.
No. Friends, if you have any questions to Dr. Garde.
Sir, what will happen if small farmers quit farming as profession?
And?
Small 67% of the farmers which you said, they quit farming as a profession. Will it affect the farming industry overall?
Yeah, in fact that is happening. See, because families grow and we are growing at a little higher rate. Similarly, see, even today, we are getting grapes. In my young age, grapes was a luxury. Today, everybody is getting this. So everything has changed. The other day when we were coming back from Canada, from UK, from Heathrow when we were traveling, a person sitting near me, he said, "Oh, you are a Maharashtrian?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, मी पण Marathi बोलतो. I also speak Marathi." "I am Agarwal. I am from Nashik." I said, "What do you do?" I mean, we were in business class. He says, "No, I trade in grapes. I export grapes table grapes to Europe." I said, "Uh-huh. How much?" He said, "Here is my finance director. We were making a trip to Delft because that is where our office is, in Belgium. Not Belgium. Delft is in. And then he said he exports 11,000 tons of grapes to Europe only every year. I mean, unimaginable, just few years ago. So we are not aware of things that are happening, but this is happening. And he said he has 450 farmers with him, plus he has his own about 250 acres of land on which he grows grapes. Now, this is happening on a large scale, and see what happens is the newspapers talk about only when the tomatoes are thrown in the outside or the milk is poured somewhere. That is 1 in 10,000 occurrence. The other 99.9% is good work, but we don't publicize that. We don't publicize that.
As and we are very grateful to Dr. Garde for sharing fresh thought, as to what should be done in group farming and so on. But I will urge all of you to look at the farmers producer companies, the case studies. There are so many good case studies are there, and so many lakhs of farmer producer companies today are working, and there are some of them successfully working, and they're producing rich farmers like him. Okay. So the small ones, unless they get a little more, and they go on producing potatoes and tomatoes which they have to throw, while he will make money, So somehow we have to convince people to diversify from wheat and rice and unsellable vegetables to something else, So that's the kind. Well, we'd like to thank Dr. Garde, and we'd like to, as a token of appreciation from AMA, we'd like to.
I would like to thank you all, because frankly, both Mr. Nair and I were wondering whether there will be audience for my talk, because everybody knows I have nothing to do with agriculture. Thank you so
Very
much.
nice, very nice.
And this was the best thing that happened for the talk.